Welcome back to the deep dive. You ready to jump into another fascinating world of business and finance?
Always. Let's do it.
All right, so today we're diving deep into the Indian pharmaceutical industry. Specifically, we're taking a close look at Innova Captab Ltd's second quarter results for fiscal year 25.
Fascinating choice. I've been following Innova Captab for a while. They seem to be really making a name for themselves, both domestically and internationally.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of material to sift through. We have the company's official announcement to the stock exchange, a limited review from their auditors, a detailed financial report, and even their investor presentation.
Oh, wow. A full picture. This is going to be a thorough deep dive.
It is. So whether you're an investor, a healthcare professional, or just someone who's curious about the global pharmaceutical landscape, this deep dive is going to be packed with insights.
I'm ready to uncover what's driving this company's success and what their recent performance tells us about their future prospects.
Okay, so first things first, let's set the stage. Who is Innova Captab Ltd, and why should we care about them?
So Innova Captab is one of India's leading integrated pharmaceutical players.
Hmm.
And what's really interesting about them is they're involved in pretty much every step of the pharmaceutical value chain.
You mean they're not just making pills and shipping them out?
Exactly. They're a CDMO, which stands for Contract Development and Manufacturing Organization. So they're developing and manufacturing medications for other companies.
Like a pharmaceutical powerhouse behind the scenes.
You got it. But they're also producing their own branded generic drugs, both for the domestic Indian market and for international markets.
So they've got multiple revenue streams, a diversified approach.
Exactly. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket, which makes them more resilient to market fluctuations.
Makes sense. Now, you mentioned their manufacturing capabilities. Just how big are they?
Oh, they're significant. They actually boast the third largest finished tablet and capsule manufacturing capacity in India.
Wow, third largest in India. That's got to be huge. That means they're supplying a large portion of the medications in India, right?
You're right. And not just in India. They're exporting to over 25 countries around the world. They're truly a global player.
So it's not just about their size, but also their reach. They're influencing the availability of medications on a global scale.
Precisely. And it's worth noting that they work with 14 of the top 15 pharmaceutical companies in India.
That's a powerful network. It shows they've established strong relationships within the industry. But they're not just resting on their laurels, are they? They've been making some strategic moves lately.
Right on. Remember their recent acquisition of Sharon Biomedicine?
I do. That seemed like a significant step. What was the rationale behind that move?
It was all about expanding their product portfolio and capabilities. Sharon specializes in certain therapeutic areas, like cardiovascular and anti-diabetic medications. These are areas with huge global demand.
So it was a strategic move to tap into those high-growth markets and strengthen their offerings.
Exactly. And it seems to be paying off. Their recent financial performance is quite impressive.
Let's talk numbers. Their revenue jumped by 12.5% year over year for Q2. And for the first half of the fiscal year, it's a whopping 18.7% increase. What's driving this impressive growth spurt?
It's not just one thing. It's growth across all their business segments. Their CDMO services are in high demand, their domestic branded generics are performing well, and their international business is expanding.
So they're firing on all cylinders. It's like a well-oiled machine with multiple engines driving their success. But let's dive deeper into their CDMO services. What makes them so successful in that space?
Well, one key factor is their diverse product portfolio. They can handle everything from simple oral solids to complex injectables. This makes them a one-stop shop for pharmaceutical companies looking to outsource their manufacturing needs.
It's like they're a pharmaceutical Swiss Army knife, able to handle any manufacturing challenge.
That's a great analogy. And it's not just about their capabilities, it's also about their reputation. They have built strong, long-term relationships with their clients.
You mentioned that they work with 14 of the top 15 pharmaceutical companies in India. That speaks volumes about their reliability and the quality of their work.
Absolutely. And their investor presentation highlights a very interesting fact. Over 80% of their CDMO clients have been with them for over 5 years. That's a testament to the trust they've built.
That's impressive. They're not just churning out products, they're building lasting partnerships. It's like they're part of their clients' success stories.
And speaking of success, they're not just relying on their existing infrastructure. Remember that new greenfield plant they're building in Jammu?
Oh, right. We touched upon it earlier. That's a major undertaking, isn't it?
It is. This facility is going to be state-of-the-art equipped with advanced technologies that will significantly boost their manufacturing capabilities.
More capacity, more efficiency, more opportunities. What types of medications will they be focusing on in this new facility?
They're planning a diverse range of products, but one technology they're incorporating that's particularly noteworthy is BFS, or blow-fill-seal technology.
BFS. I'm not familiar with that. What makes it so special?
It's a highly efficient and sterile process for producing liquid medications. Think eye drops, injectables, anything that needs to be completely free from contamination.
That's impressive. It sounds like they're really stepping up their game in terms of both quality and efficiency.
They are. This new facility is going to be a game changer for them.
So they've got a diversified business model, strong customer relationships, state-of-the-art facilities, and they're expanding their capabilities. What else is fueling their success? What about research and development?
That's another area where they shine. Innova Captab invests heavily in R&D.
Hmm.
They have an existing R&D center that's recognized by the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, DSIR.
So it's not just about producing generic versions of existing medications. They're actively involved in developing new formulations and dosage forms.
Precisely. They're pushing the boundaries of generic drug development, and that's a key differentiator in a competitive market.
It's about innovation. And they're not stopping there. They're actually building a new R&D facility in Panchakula.
That's right. They're committed to staying ahead of the curve. And to lead this innovation charge, you need a strong team at the helm.
Absolutely. So who are the masterminds behind this pharmaceutical success story?
Well, the company is led by a team with decades of experience in the pharmaceutical industry. The promoters and board of directors have impressive backgrounds and a proven track record.
It sounds like they have the right mix of experience, expertise, and vision to guide Innova Captab's continued growth. But experience and vision are great, but they don't mean much if the company isn't financially sound.
You're right, but take a look at their financial track record. It's a story of consistent growth and profitability.
That's a good sign. Consistency is key, especially in an industry as dynamic as pharmaceuticals. Okay, so we've established that Innova Captab is doing exceptionally well right now. They're diversified, they've got strong customer relationships, they're investing in state-of-the-art facilities, and they're committed to research and development. But let's shift gears and talk about their plans for continued growth. What's next on their agenda?
They've laid out several ambitious growth strategies. I'm excited to dive into them, and they tie back to a lot of what we've already discussed.
Sounds like a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive.
Let's do it. So let's talk about those growth strategies. First on their list is expanding manufacturing capacity.
Of course, more capacity, more products, more revenue. It's a classic growth strategy. But we already touched on their new Jammu facility. Is there more to this strategy?
The Jammu plant is a major part of it. But they're also exploring options for increasing production at their existing facilities. Think optimization, upgrades, maybe even some strategic expansions.
So it's not just about building new plants, but also maximizing the potential of what they already have.
Exactly. It's about efficiency and strategic allocation of resources.
Smart. What else are they planning?
Well, another key strategy is deepening their relationships with existing customers.
That makes sense. It's often easier and more cost-effective to grow business with existing clients than to constantly acquire new ones.
Right. And in the pharmaceutical world, these relationships are built on trust, reliability, and a deep understanding of each other's needs.
So how do they plan to take those relationships to the next level?
By offering more complex formulations and dosage forms, they want to become indispensable partners by providing solutions that go beyond just basic generics.
So it's about moving up the value chain, offering more specialized and sophisticated products.
You got it. It's about becoming more than just a manufacturer, but a true innovation partner.
Okay, so that's existing customers. What about expanding their own branded generics business?
That's a top priority too. They've got a strong foothold in the Indian market, and they're planning to strengthen their distribution network and introduce new products to capture an even larger share.
That makes sense. They're already a recognized brand in India, so leveraging that brand recognition for growth seems like a smart move.
Exactly. And of course, they have their sights set on international expansion as well.
We talked about them already being present in 25 countries. What's their strategy for further expanding their global footprint?
They're specifically targeting regulated markets like the UK and Canada. These are markets with high-quality standards and rigorous regulatory processes.
Breaking into those markets isn't easy. It's a different ballgame compared to, say, some emerging markets.
You're right. They need to be prepared to navigate a complex regulatory landscape and demonstrate that their products meet the highest international standards.
It sounds like a challenging but rewarding undertaking. So they're expanding manufacturing, deepening customer relationships, growing their branded generics business, and pushing into new markets. Is there anything else on their growth agenda?
One more thing. They're actively looking for strategic acquisitions.
Makes sense. They've already tasted success with the Sharon acquisition.
Right. They're open to acquiring companies that complement their existing strengths, helping them accelerate their growth trajectory.
It's like a shortcut to expanding capabilities, product portfolios, or even market reach.
You got it. They're taking a multi-pronged approach to growth, and it seems to be working.
So Innova Captab has a solid plan in place, but even the best plans can be derailed if the market conditions aren't favorable. Let's zoom out and talk about the Indian pharmaceutical market as a whole. What's the big picture here?
The Indian pharmaceutical market is booming. It's one of the fastest growing in the world.
Wow, that's fantastic. What's driving this phenomenal growth?
Several factors are at play. First, India has a huge and growing population. More people mean more demand for healthcare, including medications.
Makes sense. It's a basic supply and demand equation.
Right. And it's not just about population growth. India is also experiencing rising incomes and increased awareness of health and wellness. People are more proactive about their health and more willing to spend on healthcare.
So it's like a perfect storm of factors creating a surge in demand for pharmaceuticals.
Exactly. And let's not forget about India's demographics. They have a large and aging population. Older people tend to require more medications and healthcare services.
So there's a built-in demographic tailwind driving the long-term growth of this market.
You got it. It's a market with immense potential.
Okay, so the domestic market is booming. But we know Innova Captab has international ambitions. What about the global landscape?
The global pharmaceutical market is also growing, driven by similar factors: increasing population, aging demographics, rising incomes, and a growing focus on healthcare.
So Innova Captab is well positioned to capitalize on these global trends.
Absolutely. But there's another factor at play that's particularly relevant to Innova Captab's strengths: the rise of generic drugs.
Generics, right. They're essentially the same medications as brand name drugs, but sold at much lower prices.
Exactly. And with healthcare costs rising globally, there's a huge and growing demand for affordable alternatives.
And this is where Innova Captab comes in. They're already a leading player in generic drug development and manufacturing.
You got it. They've built their expertise in this area, and they're poised to capitalize on this global trend.
So it's a perfect alignment of their capabilities and market dynamics. They're in the right place at the right time.
Precisely. But let's be realistic. No business is without its challenges, and Innova Captab is no exception.
Right, every rose has its thorns. So what potential thorns should investors be aware of? What could potentially derail Innova Captab's success story?
Well, one of the biggest challenges in the pharmaceutical industry is navigating the ever-changing regulatory landscape.
Oh, absolutely. The pharmaceutical industry is heavily regulated for good reason. But those regulations can be a real headache for companies, especially those operating internationally.
Exactly. Different countries have different rules and regulations, and those regulations can change frequently.
It's like trying to hit a moving target.
Exactly. And if Innova Captab fails to comply with these regulations, they could face fines, delays, or even suspension of their manufacturing licenses.
That's a high-stakes game. It's not just about making profits, it's about protecting their reputation and ensuring the safety of their products.
Precisely. They need to have a robust regulatory compliance system in place and a team of experts who can navigate those complexities.
So regulatory hurdles are one challenge. What other potential bumps in the road should investors be aware of?
Well, competition. It's a fact of life in any industry, but it's particularly intense in the pharmaceutical world.
I can imagine. It's a global industry with a lot of players, both big and small, all vying for market share.
Exactly. Innova Captab faces competition from both established pharmaceutical giants with deep pockets and from smaller, more agile companies that might be able to compete on price.
So they need to stay sharp, keep innovating, and maintain their competitive edge.
Exactly. And then there are those unpredictable events, the so-called black swan events that can catch anyone off guard.
Oh, you mean like a global pandemic? Or a major political or economic upheaval? We've certainly seen how those can disrupt even the most well-prepared companies.
Absolutely. A natural disaster could disrupt their manufacturing operations. A sudden political shift in a key market could affect their sales. These are things that are difficult to predict, but they can have a significant impact on their business.
So it's a reminder that even with a solid plan and strong execution, there are always factors beyond their control.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important for investors to look at the big picture, to understand the risks involved, and to make informed decisions.
That's where the deep dive comes in. We're all about providing context and insights to help you make those informed decisions.
And now, let's delve even deeper into Innova Captab's performance by examining some specific details from their financial reports.
Sounds good to me. Let's crack open those numbers and see what secrets they reveal. I've got the investor presentation right here.
Perfect. Let's dive in. All right, let's open up the investor presentation and dig into these numbers.
Okay, so right off the bat, I'm seeing a breakdown of their revenue by geography. It looks like for the first half of FY25, roughly 76% of their revenue came from exports.
That's a significant portion. It highlights their global reach. But interestingly, it's actually down slightly from 80% last year.
Oh, really? That's a bit surprising considering all this talk about international expansion. Does that mean their overseas ventures aren't going as well as planned?
Not necessarily. Remember, their overall revenue grew significantly during this period. So even though the percentage from exports dipped a bit, their absolute export revenue likely still increased. It's like taking a slightly smaller slice of a much larger pie.
Ah, that makes sense. It's all about perspective. So while their domestic business is booming, international sales are still a major contributor to their success story.
Precisely. And remember, they're still in the early stages of entering those highly regulated markets like the UK and Canada. Those things take time.
Right. Building a brand, securing those regulatory approvals, setting up distribution networks. It's a process. It's not like flipping a switch.
Exactly. It's a strategic, long-term game.
Speaking of long-term, let's talk about their domestic market. We know it's booming, but what's fueling that growth?
It's a combination of factors. Rising incomes mean more people can afford healthcare and medications. There's also increased awareness of health and wellness, leading to more preventative care and medication use.
So people are more proactive about their health, and they have more disposable income to invest in it.
Exactly. And let's not forget about India's demographics. India has a large and aging population, which means a greater need for healthcare services and medications.
So there's a built-in demographic tailwind driving this growth.
Absolutely. It's a market with immense potential.
All right, so we've looked at the geographic breakdown. Now let's break it down by business segment. We know it's CDMO, domestic branded generics, and international branded generics, but what's the star performer?
Well, looking at their half-yearly performance for FY25, CDMO contributed the most to revenue at a little over 54%. Domestic branded generics came in at about 18%, Sharon at approximately 12%, and international branded generics at about 16%.
So CDMO is the clear leader, but it's encouraging to see that all of their segments are contributing to their success.
Exactly. That diversification makes them more resilient to market fluctuations. If one area slows down, they've got others to pick up the slack.
It's like having multiple engines powering a plane. It makes for a much smoother ride.
That's a great analogy. And this multi-pronged approach aligns perfectly with their overall growth strategy. It's all connected.
It's like a well-choreographed dance, with each segment moving in sync to drive overall success. Speaking of success, let's talk profitability. Their profit after tax has skyrocketed. What's behind that impressive growth?
Well, let's look at their EBITDA margin. EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's a great way to gauge a company's operating profitability. The higher the margin, the more profitable they are from their core operations. And their consolidated profit and loss statement shows their EBITDA margin for the first half of FY25 was 15.7%, up from 14.8% last year.
So they're not just making more money, they're becoming more efficient at converting revenue into profit. That's impressive.
It really is. It shows strong cost management and their ability to leverage their scale and expertise.
Okay, so they're operating efficiently, but what about their overall financial health? Let's look at their balance sheet.
Absolutely. When assessing a company's financial health, debt levels and their cash position are crucial indicators.
Right. High debt can be a red flag, especially in an uncertain economic environment, while a healthy cash position provides a cushion and more flexibility for strategic decisions.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between utilizing debt strategically for growth while maintaining a strong cash position to weather any potential storms.
So what does Innova Captab's balance sheet tell us?
Well, as of September 2024, their total debt stood at $2,586.6 million. It might sound like a lot, but compared to their assets, which are a robust 14,345.5 million, it's very manageable. Plus, their debt has decreased slightly from the previous quarter.
That's reassuring. It seems like they're borrowing responsibly and not over-leveraging themselves. What about their cash on hand?
They had 33.8 million in cash and cash equivalents as of September 2024. It's not a huge number, but remember they're investing heavily in growth, like the Jammu facility, which requires upfront capital. They also have access to additional liquidity through bank balances and other financial assets.
So it's not just about the cash they have right now, but their overall access to capital and their ability to manage it effectively. And it sounds like they're doing a good job on that front.
They are. Their balance sheet shows they're financially healthy and well managed, which is a great sign for their long-term prospects.
Okay, so we've covered their business model, financial performance, growth strategies, and their financial health. Innova Captab seems to be a company on the move, taking advantage of a booming market and making all the right moves. But there's one crucial element we haven't discussed yet.
Oh, I know what you're going to say, the human element.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers and forget about the people behind Innova Captab's success. From the scientists in the R&D labs to the workers on the factory floor, everyone plays a role in making this company tick.
You're absolutely right. It's a collective effort, and recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals is essential. And in the case of Innova Captab, they're driven by a mission to provide high-quality, affordable medications to people in India and around the world.
That's a mission that resonates with a lot of people. It's great to see a company that's prioritizing both profitability and a positive impact on the world. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Innova Captab's Q2 FY25 financial results, what's the key takeaway for our listeners?
Innova Captab is a company with enormous potential. They've got a strong track record, a smart growth strategy, and they're operating in a rapidly expanding market. But as with any investment, it's essential to do your due diligence. Look beyond the headlines and dig deeper into their operations, their management team, their competitive landscape, and the potential risks they might face.
We've done our best to provide you with that deeper dive today. We've explored their business model, their financials, their growth strategies, the market they operate in, and even the potential risks and challenges they face.
It's all about empowering you to make informed decisions, whether you're an investor, a healthcare professional, or just someone interested in the fascinating world of business.
And remember, the deep dive is always here to guide you on your journey of discovery. We're your companions in the quest for knowledge, your partners in exploring the frontiers of understanding. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep pushing the boundaries of your own understanding. The world is full of fascinating stories waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for joining us.